Hare Krishna.
Recording in progress.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Is the audio video okay, Prabhu? Just can
Hare
you check?
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Little low, Prabhu.
Huh?
Audio is little low, Prabhu.
1 second, 1 second.
Now it is okay, Prabhu. Now it is okay.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayati Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishti. Hare Krishna, welcome to this Bhagavad Gita study. We discussed from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 31 and text 32. I'll read the shloka and the translation. Text 31. Nayam lokosti ayajnasya kutubya purusattama. Translation shloka. Okay. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Text 32. Evam bahudha yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidittan sarvan evam yatva gunashyase. Translation. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Bhakta Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Karunavasan, Nandini, Kripat, Shri Guru Paramananda, Vishnu Chaitanya.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, your voice is breaking and it's not very continuous too.
Voice is breaking.
Echo. There is an
There is
Prabhu.
echo, no,
There
and
is
it's
echo,
not, yes. And it's not very clear also, Prabhu.
Don't know what is wrong. I have discontinued from all the other audio sources.
So both the mics are open. One need to be muted.
Okay. Now is it okay now?
There is a echo, Prabhu. If one mic can be muted,
It is already muted.
I can see both are on. So just I will try to mute one.
Yeah, from your side, if you can do it, please.
Now,
because...
I have done one muted. Now, please, can you please try now?
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes. Now it is better.
Okay. So, this subject entitled Transcendental Knowledge, Lord Krishna is explaining in verse number 31. He says, "O best of Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life, or what then of the next." So in the previous verses, the Lord has described various types of sacrifices that a human person in the human form of life has to perform. Now, the reason he has given so many different types of sacrifices is that people are of different types of mentality, different types of character, and different background. So in order to accommodate everyone, the Lord has given many provisions, and different people also come under three different modes, some in goodness, some in passion, and some in ignorance. So the same sacrifice is not suitable to everyone. So the Lord has given various types of sacrifice. We must understand what is sacrifice. Generally, people try to think that sacrifice means there's a fire sacrifice. It is not necessarily so. Yes, fire sacrifice, one of the sacrifices. But the real meaning of a sacrifice is to please Krishna. Generally, we try to, in this material world, we are born of three modes of material nature. Some say that work is worship, but if work is worship, everybody is working should be happy. But not anyone, even one It is difficult to find anyone who will be happy by worshipping his work. Similarly, many say that demigod worship, one can get this, one can get that. But we see that by worshipping demigods, not everybody is happy. So Krishna is giving here a solution to get happiness in this loka. Now the point is that we are born from the three modes. When we are here in this material world, we are bound to work. We cannot, there is no escape from that. So general tendency is that I work, I expect some results, and when we expect some results, we are bound by that. There are pious activities can give pious results, impious activities can give impious results. That is how we are bound here. But whatever form of material existence is, we are not aware of the real situation. And main reason is that ignorance. We are all ignorant of what to do, what not to do. And so we we perform activities. Some are karma, and some are vikarma. Pious activities may lead to some pious results. Impious activities may result in impious reactions, which nobody is generally aware of. But Shastras clearly explain what to do and what not to do. It is said that in the Veda there are different kandas called Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and then Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda more or less focuses on fruitive activities that if we do this, we get this. And if we do this, we get this benefit, so forth. Jnana Kanda focuses on a lot of knowledge. People tend to take that and get into speculative activities. Upasana Kanda has got little bit of focus on devotional service, but not much. So anything that we do, it will come under these three kandas and then the three modes of material natures. Now, we see of late many times, particularly people who handle finance. It's just one example. We see scams in banks. We see scams even in temples. We see that people take money of the Lord that belongs to the Lord. Now, all these things have got a lot of resultant reactions. But those who, in fact, the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a quote given by Lord Krishna himself in Uddhava Gita. He tells Uddhava, the translation says that if one takes the property of even a Brahmana, he has to take birth as a worm in the stool. So if that happens to by taking just the property of a Brahmana, we can imagine what could happen if somebody is misusing the funds of the Lord. So those who commit these things, they don't know what they are doing and what they are likely to get. If not in this birth, they may have to suffer the next birth. If not next, they have to suffer the following birth. So this is how our ignorance is. People who commit these activities, they don't know. Similarly, there are so many other things. Some indulge in illicit sex and some indulge in drinking liquor. In the name of religion, also, people commit so many things and quote this and that. Vedas, of course, have a lot of things to do, but at the same time, Vedas also encourage a limited amount of sense gratification. That is because by limited sense gratification, one can gradually come to the stage of purification and finally come to the complete stage of purification. Now, this body, if we look at, body is given by Krishna. The material nature which we are in, that is also working under the control of Krishna. And we do work with various instruments of the body, with using our mind or intelligence or false ego, all are given by Krishna. So obviously, the results are also to be offered to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada many times gives an example of going to Ganges, taking a palmful of water and offering back to Ganges. So similarly, when we use everything that belongs to Krishna, apparently they have to be offered to Krishna only, not in. We cannot enjoy the fruits of our work. But because of our ignorance, we try to enjoy the fruits, and that is the reason we also suffer, and we are bound in this material world. People are also performing activities not only apart from enjoying the fruits, but also some perform as a sense of duty. Some also perform as a out of love. Of course, not many are there, but all of them are binding. So in Ramayana, there is a quote where Mother Sita explains to Lord Rama that there are three sinful activities that one should avoid. One is false speech. Now, this is a very important fact. In fact, my spiritual master, Jayaprakash Swami Maharaj, has mentioned many times in his classes that even giving a false statement has got a lot of implications, and one must have to suffer for this. That is why when we mention about the four pillars of religion, we say truthfulness, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness, of which truthfulness is there. So there cannot be any duplicity in our speech, or we cannot give any false speech. So this is number one. Number two, she says, is that having illicit relations with another's wife, which also everyone knows, this is illicit sex. And the third one, she says, is that cruelty to those who are not inimical. And we see that on a day-to-day basis, people engage in dealings which result in cruelty. So these things are there, which are very, very subtle, and people might commit to these things without even knowing that they're committing to this. Example is given that if we drive a vehicle, there is a law book. Of course, in India, there may not be too much of rules and regulations, but otherwise throughout the world, the driving rules are very, very strict, which clearly, it's like a law book for driving. So you can't cross signals. Similarly, you can't drive on one this side or that side. Different countries have different guidelines. So we can't violate driving rules. If you are caught, then you are punished. Second time, if you are caught, then the punishment is severe. Third time, they cancel the license also. So there are countries which practice all these rules. Similarly, for us, when we come to this material world, the Lord has given several law books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranas, Upanishads, and all those things. So we are bound to follow them. If we don't follow the scriptures, then we are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. So, as per this purport which Srila Prabhupada mentioned, that ignorance is the cause of sinful life. That means we are not ignorant. We are ignorant, so we commit sinful activities. And it is because of committing sinful activities we are found in this material existence. This human form of life is one in which one can get out of this entanglement by referring to the scriptures and understanding the scriptures from sadhus. For example, one example is that we breathe air for which we are not paying anything. We get so many facilities, basic necessities like food, etc. We may say that we are paying for this and getting it, but ultimately we are not paying to the Lord. We are paying to somebody from whom we are buying, and it may be significant or insignificant. But the point is that all these things are provided by the Lord. So if we try to enjoy the Lord's property without paying Him, then we are actually called thieves. So that is why Vedas give provisions that you do this sacrifice by which you can purify this. Because the Lord is the only enjoyer of the sacrifices. The Lord Himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the supreme enjoyer of all the sacrifices. So if somebody is trying to utilize anything for sense gratification or trying to enjoy the results of one's work, then one gets entangled in this material world. So people, even in the use of religion, they misuse the word religion, exploiting the common man. As per Shastras, people are supposed to be doing dharma, artha, kama, moksha, ultimately to get liberated, but people remain at dharma, artha, and kama. So they work, they get sense gratification, and they try to enjoy that. Now, so many people don't even look at moksha or trying to get liberation. This is one misunderstanding that people have. Another miscommunication that they have is that people try to exploit people today. One of the common modes of exploitation is people say Sanatana Dharma without knowing what is Sanatana Dharma. People also claim I'm from a Hindu background, I'm from a Brahmana background, I'm Trivedi, I'm Chaturvedi, and all those things, but not knowing what a Trivedi or Chaturvedi also means. So religion also is misunderstood, and particularly in Kali Yuga, religion is very much misunderstood. So in order to get out of all these things, we have to perform sacrifices. And when the sacrifice is performed and the results are offered to the Lord, then we get free from this bondage. One example in the Vedas is about marriage. Marriage is it's a samskar basically for purification of our existence. So there are also rules and regulations for stipulations for marriage. But nowadays, if we see marriage is also a means of sense gratification. So we perform yajna, and that marriage itself is a yajna, a samskar. And that perfection of that marriage takes place by when we make a yajna, and the Lord is offered the benefit of that sacrifice. So yajna does not mean just a fire sacrifice. There's much beyond that. Any activity that is performed to attain a certain goal is called yajna. But ultimately, activities have to be performed in spiritual consciousness for the satisfaction of the Lord Vishnu. That is what is called yajna. So that is the reason, due to lack of understanding, people don't know and they perform the thread ceremonies, samskaras to children at a very young age. And they don't know that they have to chant the Gayatri mantra. And after the ceremony is over, then they throw away the Brahmanical thread. But all these are performance of various different types of yajnas. But ultimately, everything is done for the satisfaction of Krishna. And if someone does not perform yajna or performs yajna but tries to enjoy the fruits of the sacrifice, then as per this sloka, even in this body, one cannot have any happiness. Happiness is what we are all looking for ultimately, but after doing all these things, one may not feel that happiness. So, what here Lord says that what to speak of this body, what to speak of another body on another planet, without a sacrifice, one can never be happy. So, different types of material comforts are there in different planets. And in all the cases, there may be happiness, but at the same time, there are different types of yajnas that are prescribed. But the highest happiness that one can get is by being elevated to the spiritual planet. That is the highest happiness of spiritual happiness also, and by which one becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. So karmis worship the demigods to attain heavenly planets. The jnanis, they worship the impersonal Brahman feature. And there also they struggle because in Brahma Jyoti there is no activity. So, as per Shastras, they have to come back to this material world. Or sometimes there is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto that there are demigods like Lord Shiva who give their association to the impersonalists, and by which they can get promoted to personal form of worship. Lord Shiva also is a worship of the personal form. These dhyanis, they worship the Lord in the heart as Paramatma, but they worship the Lord to attain some mystic perfection. That is also a sense gratificatory process. So in all these processes, also one gets stuck at some point of the other. So the best, highest and form of worship is worship of the personality of Godhead. And at the beginning stages, definitely that is by sacrificing the results of one's work to Krishna, by which one is not bound. Because everyone who comes to God has got some other desire. He does not come without a desire. So gradually one gets purified by the performances of the yajnas, and then one may reach a stage of pure devotion service without expecting anything from the Lord. Anything other than that is a means by which one gets bound in this material world. So a life of Krishna consciousness is the solution to all the problems of material existence. in text number 32, the Lord says, all these different types of sacrifices are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, he will become liberated. So these different types of sacrifices are also mentioned in Vedas. In Kali Yuga, Vedas cannot be understood. It cannot be practiced also. But these are given so that people can take what is suitable to them, whether from Karma Kanda or from Jnana Kanda or from Upasana Kanda, and follow some path of sacrifice. Some sacrifice has to be done, without which there cannot be happiness. So Vedas have given these various by which one can come to a stage of akarma. That is, one is free from the reactions. So this akarma is one. Karma binds us. Vikarma is very, very sinful, and we have to suffer a lot by either taking birth in the lower forms of species or going to hellish planets. And one has to come to the stage of akarma, that is getting free from the reactions. Now, the one reason is that we perform our activities through our body, through our mind, through our intelligence. And the main reason for the suffering is that we want to enjoy, that is, sense gratification is the cause of our suffering. The purpose of all the sacrifices is to purify and reach a stage of complete sense control, control of the mind, and control of the intelligence. But by practice of Bhakti Yoga, one is automatically elevated to the spiritual world, and one can be free from this sense gratification process. So this is what the Lord is confirming in these two slokas. Ultimately, what everyone is looking for is happiness. It is explained in the Shastras that the happiness in the Earth planet is too insignificant compared to the happiness that one derives in the heavenly planets. That is why people say that I want to go to the sun, I want to go to the moon, etc. But all of them are temporary. So the happiness that is derived from the heavenly planets is far higher than those that is derived in the earthly planet. And the happiness that is derived in the Vaikuntha planets is far, far, far higher than what can be derived in the heavenly planets. And the happiness that one can derive in the topmost planet, that is Golaka Vrindavana, is much higher than even happiness in Vaikuntha planets. So this is how but one who can transcend, even in fact, the other slokas also, Lord has told Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita itself, that one should transcend the dualities of this material world. It is happiness and distress, cold and heat, suffering and vice versa. So one has to transcend all these things, then only one can reach a stage where he's called Dhira. Dhira is a stage where one is totally transcended these dualities of this material world. Examples are given that even when Srila Prabhupada went to the Western countries to preach, it is said that there used to be a lot of outreach programs they used to do. Some of them were very, very successful, and some of them were not successful. But Srila Prabhupada was not unhappy when there was an outreach which did not end in success, because Srila Prabhupada was not disturbed by the outcome. He was steady. So this is an example of Dhira. But we see that generally we perform even activities in our devotional service. If we don't get the results properly, then we become upset. But as for Shastras, one has to transcend these failures and success. One example is given about Srila Prabhupada when he was going on a morning walk, and he saw a board in which was written, "Beware of these trees, they can be dangerous at high winds." Srila Prabhupada then commented to the devotees who were walking along with him. He said that the trees can be dangerous at all point of time. It is not that only when there are high winds a tree can fall down. Sometimes, if the roots are weak, the tree can fall down, and we see many times in the newspaper also that somebody is killed because the tree fell, so forth. And another case is that it is mentioned that one time there was a heavy rain and somebody took shelter underneath the tree with a helmet. But there was a lightning that was so powerful that the helmet also split into pieces and the person was killed at no point of time. So this is how karma works. One example is about Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest in search of he started with a mystic yoga practice to see the Lord face to face. But when he developed a taste for devotion service, it is said that he did not have a taste for karma or jnana. So that is how devotional service is. Devotional service is one by which one can cross over the karma, jnana, and dhyana also. Performing devotional service is like having post-dated checks that otherwise it's like a shadow. The shadow doesn't leave us. That's how karma doesn't leave us also. In Kali Yuga, of course, the only process of yajna is the Sankirtana yajna, which is the easiest and the best. Trying to practice other sacrifices based on Vedas or Puranas will not have any effect because, as far as I know, because even I was performing samskaras at some point of time, and the Brahmanas are not supposed to expect any remuneration for any sacrifice that they perform. But these days, you see that generally, if you go and approach a priest, the first thing he says is, "This is my charge." And the Brahmana then automatically becomes a Shudra by expecting that result. The other side of it also works. When one performs a samskara, he is supposed to take care of the interests of the Brahmana. If both these work properly, then the yajna works effectively. Otherwise, if the Brahmana expects and the one who conducts the samskara pays that, the yajna has no meaning at all. Similarly, we see that the ingredients of the sacrifice, etc., have also to be pure. And these days, it is difficult to get pure ingredients also. That is why we see that many times people perform these sacrifices as per the karma kanda and they don't get the results also. That is why we see that there is no happiness even after performing these sacrifices. Not that I'm against these sacrifices, but the point is that the brahmanas who perform sacrifice have to be pure. The mantras that are chanted have to be pure. And we see that even in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we may not get results if we don't chant the mantras in the proper mindset. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. And knowing that all these sacrifices are for our benefits and accepting the type of sacrifice that is required for us, we can perform and then we can become liberated. With this, I conclude. Any questions or comments on this anyone has got?
Prabhuji, just I'm not sure whether I can ask this question, but the
Yes, please.
marriage itself is a sacrifice, no, Prabhuji, because there is a fire sacrifice that is done in the marriage.
Yes,
So
all samskaras are sacrifices, whether it's a marriage or whether a thread ceremony, all these are sacrifices that are performed for our purification, provided it is done in the right spirit, in the right way.
correct,
Like I
Prabhuji.
mentioned, marriage itself today is performed, is a means of sense gratification. So marriage is not a sense gratification process, but actually marriage as per samskaras is a process of purification of our existence because not everybody can be a brahmachari. So the Lord has given the Varnashrama dharma whereby one can get married and then get purified. It is also a sacrifice provided it is done in the right spirit.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, I take the class as closed. Thank you all very much. Bhagavad Gita as it is.